It seems like every time I turn on the news, there's another ransomware attack happening.
Yeah.
It's enough to make anyone nervous about their data. But what if the hackers weren't just targeting your computer?
Mm,
What if they were after your whole network?
right.
That's what we're looking at today. We're uncovering BlackCat, also
Mm.
known as ALPHV, ransomware that can hit both Windows and Linux systems.
Yeah.
Imagine a key that can unlock any door in your digital fortress. That's BlackCat. And its strategy is like a super carefully planned heist, what they call a multi-stage deployment, so they can infiltrate and escalate.
That's right.
And ultimately, they want to just encrypt your data and leave you with a ransom note and a ton of headaches.
Exactly. And that cross-platform capability is a big reason why BlackCat is such a serious threat. Most ransomware just goes after Windows, but BlackCat broadened its scope to attack way more systems.
So we're really talking about a more dangerous, more sophisticated type of ransomware.
And-
And that's why we're here today, so we can understand how it works and, more importantly, how you can build up your defenses. And by the way, we at Stonefly have some really great tools and resources to help you do just that. But we'll talk more about that later.
Sounds good.
For now, let's get into BlackCat. What makes this ransomware so unique?
Well, BlackCat uses the programming language Rust, which is not something you typically see with ransomware. This means that it's more sophisticated and probably harder to detect. But what's really scary is its multifaceted attack strategy. BlackCat doesn't just use one way to get in.
Yeah.
It searches for weak points in the system, so it can exploit vulnerabilities like in Microsoft Exchange servers, or even using stolen SSH keys just to get access.
So even if you're on top of patching those vulnerabilities, there's still a chance you could get hit.
Yeah.
That's unsettling. It's like they're always ahead of us.
Right. That's why it's so important to use a layered security approach. But even after it gets past your defenses, BlackCat doesn't stop there. It'll systematically disable security features, uninstall antivirus software, and it can even compromise your Active Directory. That means it can get control over user accounts and permissions.
So they basically break in, cut the alarm wires, and then they go around and disable all the cameras. That's a nightmare.
It is.
What kind of tools do they use? How do they do all that?
Well, BlackCat uses a mix of available tools and custom scripts. A lot of times they'll use PowerShell, which is a legitimate Windows tool,
Okay.
to run malicious scripts like start.bat, east.bat, and run.bat. These scripts will carry out all the different stages of the attack. And they also use a tool called Cobalt Strike.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's a legitimate penetration testing tool, but they use it for malicious purposes. And this lets them establish a strong foothold within the network and then control all the compromised systems remotely.
It's crazy how they take legitimate tools and turn them into weapons.
I know.
And you said something about escalating privileges. What does that actually look like in a BlackCat attack?
So once BlackCat gets into the system, it's not happy with just limited access. It wants full control, like having the keys to the kingdom, right?
Right.
And that's where the CMS-TPL-UA-COM interface comes in. It's a legitimate Windows component, but BlackCat exploits it to get administrative rights. It's like they're hijacking the system administrator's accounts, and that gives them the power to make system-wide changes, disable all the defenses, and eventually run the ransomware.
So they get in, and then they have the highest level of access. It's like they have a master key to the entire building. So what happens after that?
So with admin rights, BlackCat starts messing things up. It'll target critical services to create as much chaos as possible. They'll stop these services, delete volume shadow copies, which are basically backups in the system, and they'll even mess with the symbolic links within the file system just to further cripple the system.
It's not enough to just go after your data. They want to shut everything down. That's a business's worst nightmare.
For sure. And finally, they get to the encryption process. BlackCat uses something called the AES algorithm to encrypt files, which makes them unusable. Then they change the file extensions to .wivzu, and they leave their ransom notes everywhere, as text files, HTML files, even as your desktop background.
Oh, wow.
They make sure you get the message.
So it's like they locked up all your files in a vault and taped a ransom note to the door. Not a good situation. And this is a good time to mention that for any businesses or people trying to defend themselves from these threats, Stonefly has advanced security solutions to help. Our appliances are designed specifically to reduce these risks.
Right.
We offer robust protection against data loss and system disruption. If you want more info about our appliances, you can contact us at sales@stonefly.com, or you can go to our website, www.stonefly.com.
That's great.
You mentioned that BlackCat doesn't just stay on one system, so how does it spread within a network?
Well, BlackCat is even more dangerous because it can move laterally through a network. It uses tools like PSCZEC, RDP, and MobExterm to jump from one system to another, so it'll infect multiple machines and cause a lot of damage. It's not happy just locking down one computer. It wants to take your whole network hostage. That double extortion tactic is really a game changer.
Yeah.
It's not just about data recovery anymore. It's also about reputation management and legal stuff.
Uh-huh.
Imagine what would happen if your sensitive customer data or trade secrets ended up all over the internet.
It's not a good thought. It's like we're in a new era of cybercrime. The stakes are even higher now.
Yeah.
But let's shift from attacker to defender. Knowing what we know about BlackCat, how can businesses even begin to protect themselves?
Right.
Is there any hope?
Well, there's always hope. BlackCat's a tough opponent, but there are proactive things you can do to be safer.
Okay.
One thing that's becoming more popular is deception technology.
What's that?
It's like setting up a bunch of digital tripwires and decoys to lure attackers away from your important data. You're essentially making them chase a rabbit hole while you buy yourself time to detect the intrusion.
Oh, so it's like a digital honeypot. You can distract them and make them think they got the good stuff while you're watching them the whole time.
Exactly.
Got it.
It's being proactive so you can disrupt their plans and get the upper hand.
So it's not just about decoys, right? What happens if they get past those?
Right.
What's the next line of defense?
Well, we can't have actual guards in the digital world, but we can use what's called advanced threat detection and response solutions.
So what do those do?
These solutions are like super vigilant guards that use AI and machine learning to look at network traffic in real time. They are constantly looking for patterns that might show there's malicious activity going on.
So it's like having a computer constantly looking at all the data coming through, looking for those tiny signs that humans might miss.
Exactly. That's a great way to put it. And these solutions are amazing because they can even automate the response. They isolate infected systems and block any malicious traffic before it can spread.
That's really powerful.
It is.
But I bet those things are super expensive. Can a small business or just a regular person afford something like that?
Yeah. Those advanced solutions are valuable, but there are other things you can do that aren't so pricey and can really help. One of them is the principle of least privilege.
Okay, that's interesting. What is that exactly?
Basically, it means you only give users the access they absolutely need to do their jobs. You limit their permissions.
Okay.
So if someone does compromise an account, the damage will be limited because you've compartmentalized your security.
Got it.
It's like keeping a fire contained in one room instead of letting it spread through the whole building.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's all about damage control. But isn't this all kind of like a game of whack-a-mole? BlackCat is constantly evolving, always finding new ways in. How can we possibly stay ahead?
You're right. Cybersecurity is always changing. It's not something you can just set up and forget about.
Right.
You have to always be reviewing and updating your security policies and procedures. We need to adapt to the newest threats and make sure our defenses are using the best practices.
So it's like you're constantly updating your playbook based on what your opponent is doing.
Exactly.
You have to know their next move to stay ahead.
And we can't forget about the people involved.
Right.
A lot of times, employees are the first line of defense. It's super important to do regular security awareness training. If they know how to recognize phishing emails, use strong passwords, and report anything suspicious, it can go a long way in stopping an attack.
Yeah, it's about building that culture of security, making everyone in the company responsible for protecting the data.
For sure.
But let's face it, nothing is foolproof.
Sure.
What happens if they do get through, despite our best efforts? What do we do then?
That's when a good incident response plan is critical.
What's that?
It's like a fire drill for your IT systems. You need a clear plan in place for dealing with an attack. You have to outline everyone's roles, responsibilities, and how you're going to communicate.
So it's about preparation. You don't wait for the fire to start to figure out where the extinguisher is, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
And a key part of that plan is a solid backup and recovery system. If your data is encrypted, you have to be able to get it back from a clean backup.
And this is where Stonefly really shines. We're experts in backups and disaster recovery. Our solutions help businesses recover quickly and efficiently from something like a BlackCat attack. And we offer things like air-gapped backups, which are totally isolated from the network,
Oh, wow.
and immutable backups, which can't be messed with or deleted, even by an attacker who has admin privileges.
That's impressive.
To learn more about how Stonefly can protect your data, you can go to www.stonefly.com or contact us at sales at stonefly.com.
Great.
We have to remember that ransomware is a business for these criminals.
Definitely.
They're organized, sophisticated, and motivated. It's not if you'll be attacked, it's when a UN.
I agree.
That's scary.
It is.
But being aware is the first step.
Right.
Now let's look at the bigger picture. What are some of the trends you're seeing with ransomware?
Okay.
Are things getting better or worse?
Well, unfortunately, it looks like we're heading towards a more dangerous future. Ransomware attacks are happening more often and they're more sophisticated. They're also having a bigger impact. The average ransom is going up.
Wow.
And the attackers are getting better at what they do to make more money.
So it's a growing problem, and it doesn't look like it's going to slow down anytime soon. Why is this happening? What's causing this?
Well, there are a few things. Cryptocurrencies have made it easier for them to get paid anonymously. It's hard to track them and prosecute them. And then there's the rise of ransomware as a service.
Ransomware as a service. What's that?
It basically makes it easier for anyone to become a cybercriminal.
Oh, no.
You don't even need to have any technical skills. You can just buy a ransomware kit and launch attacks pretty easily.
It's like the dark web has become a store for cybercrime. Anyone can get what they need. That's a worrying trend.
It is. And we can't forget about the attack surface. It's getting bigger.
Okay.
As more devices and systems get connected, there are more targets for ransomware attacks. The Internet of Things is convenient, but it's also created more vulnerabilities.
Right.
Criminals are always looking for ways to take advantage of that.
So every new smart device, from fridges to industrial systems, becomes a way in for attackers. It's like a perfect storm.
It is.
It's really challenging for businesses and individuals alike.
Yeah.
So given how bad things look, what's the best way forward? Can we actually win this digital arms race?
We can't just sit back and do nothing.
Right.
We have to raise awareness. People need to know about the dangers of ransomware, and we need to give them the tools to protect themselves.
So knowledge is our weapon. We need to empower people to make smart decisions about their security.
Absolutely.
Ah.
But awareness is just the start.
Yeah.
We need to invest in and use better security solutions. The cybersecurity industry has to innovate and constantly find new ways to detect, prevent, and respond to these attacks.
Yeah.
We have to make it harder and less profitable for them.
So this is a call to action for all the security professionals and researchers out there to come together.
Definitely.
They need to find the next generation of defenses.
And collaboration is also really important in this fight.
Okay.
Governments, businesses, and individuals all have to work together. We need to share information, develop best practices, and help law enforcement stop these criminal networks. We're much stronger when we work together.
So we need a multi-pronged approach. Awareness, innovation, and collaboration. We have to be smarter, more proactive, and more unified.
I agree.
But how can we make sure these defenses keep working?
Right.
Cybercrime is always changing.
Well, we have to shift from reacting to threats to being proactive.
Okay.
We need to use threat intelligence and vulnerability management.
What's that?
It means we need to stay ahead of the game, always looking for and fixing potential problems before someone can exploit them.
So it's like a chess game with a grandmaster. You can't just react to their moves. You have to predict what they'll do next and plan for it.
Exactly. And as technology gets more advanced, we'll see even more powerful tools being used to fight ransomware. Artificial intelligence and machine learning are going to be really important. They'll help us create better solutions to detect threats, analyze huge amounts of data, and spot anything suspicious in real time.
So the defenses of the future will be learning and adapting, getting smarter and more proactive.
That's right.
That's actually pretty encouraging. What about the data itself? How do we keep sensitive information safe, even if they get through?
Data protection is another key area.
Okay.
Encryption technologies will be super important to keep that information safe, so no one who shouldn't see it can read it. Data loss prevention solutions are also key.
What will they do?
They monitor and control the movement of data, so it can't be accessed or stolen without permission.
So we're building up layers of defense, protecting the data at every level. But we know that cybercriminals are always finding new ways to get around things. How can we be sure that our security measures will still work?
We have to always be looking for ways to improve. Security is an ongoing thing. You're never really done. Regularly assessing your security, doing vulnerability tests, and penetration testing are really important to stay ahead of the game.
It really is a constant back and forth.
Yeah.
The bad guys trying new things and the good guys trying to stay ahead. But it helps to see these things in action, right?
Yeah.
Can we look at some real examples of how BlackCat works and what we can learn.
Definitely.
Okay.
When we analyze specific attacks, we get a better understanding of their tactics and how important proactive defense is. Let's go back to the attack on those German oil companies back in January 2023.
Oh, yeah.
That was a big one.
Yeah.
It showed just how much BlackCat could disrupt critical things and how it can affect everyone.
Absolutely. It wasn't just about computers. It caused actual fuel shortages and huge lines at gas stations. People couldn't even get gas for their cars.
Right.
And it even messed things up for Shell, a global energy giant.
Yeah.
They had to reroute their supplies to make up for the losses.
The attack targeted oil-tanking Deutschland and Mabanaft, two big players in the German energy sector. They supply gas, diesel, and heating oil all over the country.
Right?
When BlackCat hit, everything stopped.
Wow.
Fuel couldn't get where it needed to go.
So it wasn't just about stealing data or getting money. They wanted to shut down important services and cause major economic damage.
Yeah.
It shows how much damage ransomware can do. So what do we learn from this? How can we protect ourselves from something like that?
Well, this attack made it clear that organizations that are part of critical infrastructure need strong security. Things like network segmentation are really important to keep an attack from spreading.
Yeah.
Strong multi-factor authentication can stop unauthorized access, and you need regular security audits to find and fix weaknesses before the attackers find them.
Yeah. And we can't forget about backups.
Definitely not.
Even if you get hit, having a good, clean copy of your data can save you. You can get back up and running quickly, and that's where Stonefly comes in. We specialize in backup and disaster recovery solutions, no matter how big or small your organization is.
Right.
We know how important data is these days. We want to help businesses protect that data and make sure they can keep running. If you want to learn more about how we can make your infrastructure more resilient, go to our website at www.stonefly.com or contact us at sales@stonefly.com. Now let's talk about another BlackCat attack, the one on Bart's Health NHS Trust in July 2023. This one is scary because it was against a healthcare provider.
Yeah.
These are places that are responsible for taking care of people.
Attacks on healthcare organizations are really worrying because they can stop people from getting the care they need and put sensitive medical information at risk.
And in this case, BlackCat didn't just encrypt data. They stole tons of it.
Right.
Over 7 terabytes of medical records, financial data, who knows what else.
It's scary.
Then they threatened to release it if they didn't get paid.
Yeah.
It's a horrible example of how these people will exploit anything for money.
This really shows that healthcare needs strong security measures, too.
Right.
Data encryption is critical, so even if it's stolen, it can't be read. You need access control, so only the right people can see sensitive info and can't change it. And it's also super important to train staff on security awareness so they can spot and report anything fishy.
It's like protecting the data at every level and making sure healthcare professionals are part of the solution. Okay, so we talked about these specific attacks. What are some of the bigger trends that are happening with ransomware? What kind of challenges do they create for businesses and individuals?
Well, one thing we're seeing more of is double extortion tactics. We talked about this earlier. They encrypt the data, but also steal it before deploying the ransomware. Then they threaten to release it publicly.
Yeah.
It puts a lot of pressure on the victims to pay.
Yeah, it's a nasty strategy that raises the stakes.
It does.
Even if a company can recover its data, their reputation could be ruined and they might have legal problems.
Exactly. It's like a 1-2 punch.
Yeah.
It's not just about getting the data back anymore. And the bad guys are getting really good at what they do.
Yeah.
Their tools are more advanced and they're better at avoiding detection.
So how do we keep up?
Right.
How can we get ahead of them?
We have to stop just reacting and start being more proactive.
Okay.
We need to use things like threat intelligence. That means understanding how groups like BlackCat work and what their tactics are.
So it's like spying on them, figuring out what they're going to do next.
Exactly.
Okay.
And we need to be good at vulnerability management.
What's that?
It's about scanning our systems for weaknesses and fixing them before they can be exploited. It's like making our defenses stronger.
But it's not all about technology, right?
No?
People make mistakes.
Yeah, you're right. Security awareness training is really important. Employees need to know how to spot phishing emails, use strong passwords, and report anything suspicious.
It's about building a culture where everyone understands how important security is.
Definitely. But even if we do everything right, we need to have a plan for when things go wrong.
Absolutely.
You need a good incident response plan. This tells you what to do when an attack happens.
Okay.
You need to know how to contain it, who to contact, and how to get your data back from backups.
It's like having a plan for when there's a fire. Everyone knows what to do. And Stonefly can help with that.
Yeah.
Our solutions have things like air-gapped backups and immutable backups.
Oh,
That means they're protected even if an attacker gets in. If you want to improve your data protection and recovery, check out our website at www.stonefly.com or contact us at sales@stonefly.com. We're here to help you deal with all this cybersecurity stuff.
having a good plan and a good backup solution are essential. But we can't do it alone.
Yeah.
We have to work together.
It takes everyone.
Governments, businesses, everyone needs to share information and help law enforcement. That's how we'll make it harder for these guys to operate.
It's been really interesting learning about BlackCat. We talked about where it came from, how it works, and how we can protect ourselves. But the most important thing I want everyone to remember is that knowledge is power. The more you know, the better you can defend yourself. Stay informed, stay alert, and stay proactive.
Cybersecurity is always changing, so we need to be ready to adapt. But if we all work together, we can make the digital world a safer place.